Hello Year 8 and welcome to this science lesson. This is the last lesson of the topic where do we come from and will be slightly different. So with this lesson we are going to try to improve our knowledge about the topic. So we are going to go through your Google form test, checking together the frequently missed questions. For the second part of the lesson instead, we are going to use a knowledge organizer to revise the whole topic together. So the firstly, I would like to say thank you for work very hard during this last term and for being very engaged with Show My Homeworks test. And in this slide, you can have a look to your general score, and as you can see, for each test, your score average is more than 80%. And actually, for the fourth one, you really reached 90%. So well done, Year 8. Here instead, you can see your result with the Google form test. Again, well done. Most of you scored more than 50% right answers. And now let's go together through the frequently missed question to avoid possible misconceptions. Okay? So the first question that I would like to discuss with you is the one about biological gender. How we said during the lesson, just one pair of chromosomes will define your biological gender. The pair will be XX if your biological gender is a female, or the pair will be XY if your biological gender is male. The next one is about zygote. The zygote is the first somatic cell formed after fertilization. I mean after the two sex cells, the sperm and the egg cell, join together. Okay? Now, then the one about the dominant allele. So, the dominant allele is the strongest, the one that will show up the future whenever it is present, and will overrule the recessive if both present. For example, in this case, when you have the uppercase, it is for the dominant one, and the lowercase for the recessive one. In this case, because you have just one of the dominant allele, you will show up that feature because the dominant allele will overrule the recessive one. So this means that you will need just one allele to show up the future. Okay? Now, about genetic disease. With cystic fibrosis and recessive disease, you need both the alleles to show up the disease. If you are a carrier, as the parents in the question, you have just one of the allele and you do not show up the disease. If these two parents will have a child, they will have 25% the probability, the chance to have a child with cystic fibrosis. To answer to this question, or to this kind of question, you need to use the Punnett square to help yourself, as you can see from the slide. Now, same kind of question, but with a dominant disease. In this case, if you do not have the disease, you are not carrying the allele at all, because now that the disease is dominant, is the polydactyly. Otherwise, so if you do not have the disease, you are not carrying the allele at all. Otherwise, you will have the polydactyly, because it's a dominant. So if you have just one of the allele, you will have the disease. So these parents have 0% chance to have a child with polydactyly, because none of them is carrying the gene, because none of them has the disease, the polydactyly. Okay? Now, variation. So Emperor and macaroni are two different kinds of species, so any variation that you compare with these two species of penguins, will represent variation between species, okay? And now, the last one about Charles Darwin's natural selection theory. according to this theory, is the fittest organism that will survive because it's the one with the most successful future. So it will survive, it will reproduce, and it will pass on the future to the next generation. Okay, so now back to our checklist. We have just done the improvement questions. Now it's time to use the knowledge organize to revise the whole topic. Okay, now this is the knowledge organize about the where do we come from topic. The next part of the video will zoom in on each section. Okay, we have 4 sections and a lot to remember. So for each section, I prepare a quiz that will help your memory. Okay, so this is section A. So pause and read section A. Try to remember everything, then try the quiz question on the next slide. Okay, now it's time to try the quiz. Pause the video and take your time to do the task. When you will be ready, we will check the answers. Okay, about section A. So put chromosome, DNA and gene in order from the smallest to the biggest. So the smallest is gene, then we have chromosome, and then we have the whole DNA. Where can you find DNA in a cell? In a cell, DNA is in the nucleus. How can you define a gene? A small section of DNA. How can you define an allele? It's a different form of a gene. What does dominant means? A dominant allele is an allele that will show up the feature whenever it is present. Recessive instead is an allele that will show up its feature when 2 of them are present. You will need both the recessive allele to show up the feature. Okay? Now, this is section B. Pause and read section B. Try to remember everything. Then try the quiz questions on the next slide. Again, it's time to try the quiz. Pause the video and take your time to do the task. When you will be ready, we will check the answer. Oops, sorry. So, section B. Which are sex cells in humans? So, sperm and egg cells. What is another way to say sex cell? We call it gamete. How many chromosomes does a sex cell have? 23 chromosomes. Just a sex cell will have 23 chromosomes. All the rest, all the other somatic cells will have 46. What does happen when 2 sex cells join together? The process is called fertilization. What is the name of the first somatic cell formed after fertilization? We discussed this question during the first bit of the lesson with the Google form, and this cell, the first somatic cell formed, is called zygote. Which model do you use to cross alleles and find out the biological gender? We used the model called Punnett square. We used that when we did in the first bit of the lesson about the genetic disease, cystic fibrosis, and polydactyly. Using chromosomes, define male gender and female gender. Again, we did this at the beginning of the lesson. So we have the female gender will have 2 chromosomes XX and male gender XY. About biological gender. Okay, now this is a section C. Pause and read the section. Try to remember everything, and then we will have the quiz. Okay, so now it's time to try the quiz. Pause the video and take your time to do the task. When you will be ready, we will check the answers. Okay, now answers. So what is a genetic disorder? A genetic disorder is a disease caused by genetic defect. A question about this was in the Google form as well. What is the main difference between genetic disorder and infectious disease? A genetic disorder is a disease that you're born with. An infectious disease can be caught by someone else. Okay? For example, the flu. Okay, what does dominant disease mean? A dominant disease is a disease that you can have whenever you have one allele associated with the disease, because the allele will be a dominant allele and you will need just one to show up the feature. If the feature is a genetic disorder, of course, you will have the genetic disorder. What does recessive disease mean? A recessive disease is a disease that you can have only if you have both the alleles associated with the disease, like cystic fibrosis, okay? Because it is a disease related with a recessive allele. If you have both the recessive allele, you will show up the disease. What does carrier mean? In a genetic disorder, a carrier is someone that has only one recessive allele associated with the disease. A carrier, this is important, will not be affected but can pass on the allele. They will have just one of the two recessive allele, so one is not enough if it is a recessive allele, so it won't show up the disease, but can pass on that allele to the next generation. Can you give an example of a recessive disease and an example of dominant disease? Recessive, cystic fibrosis, dominant, polydactyly. Okay, now the last section, section D, pause and read the section, is a list of the keywords about this topic, and then try to remember everything, and then the quiz question on the next slide. Okay, so now it's time to try the quiz. It's not a proper quiz, it's a table to complete with the keywords. So take your time to the task, and when you will be ready, we will check the answers. Okay, so this is those are the answers. So biodiversity, then chromosome, then variation, differences in characteristic, evolution, development of species, extinct, permanent loss of all organism of the species, gene, section of DNA, allele, different form, mutation, random change of genetic information, DNA, genetic information, dominant allele, natural selection, the process of evolution, recessive allele when the characteristic is present only if both alleles are present, and last one is fossil. Okay. Now, this is the whole knowledge organizer again with the full section. Now, back to the checklist. We read the knowledge organizer. We did also the self-quiz. Now, for the last bit, you can make your own version of the knowledge organizer. So you need, to do this task, you will need, so this is the knowledge, something like that. So you will need a blank page. You will split in 4 sections. But remember, is not a copying exercise. You need to make your own version, the revision from memory. Okay. And in this slide, I put some instruction that will help you with the task. So pause the video and take your time to complete the task. Remember, 4 sections for the whole topic. Okay, so it's done. Well done here, 8. You did very well during this tab. Now it's time to enjoy your summer break. So, and see you next academic year. Bye.